A very good day to you. My name is Blessing Chirave. I'm a SAP Business Consultant, and I also have massive experience with Crystal Reports, which is also something that is also used with SAP Business One and is used for creating reports, different reports that cannot be made in SAP Business One. So this is a very good tool that I normally use for several clients that I work with, and I've managed to make several reports. And when I started doing reports online, most of the things that I would find when I go on YouTube or when I research, most of the things I found online were very simple things, and those simple things they didn't really address or some of the major challenges that I had to face along my career. But with much research, much experimentation, I also managed to come up with my own set of formulas and tricks of working with crystal reports. And due to that, I just want to share that with you guys, and hope that you can exactly understand what I'm trying to do, and hopefully it can help you in your work and in what you're doing. Okay, so today I'm going to present a very small formula, a very small thing that I just want to show you. Okay, so what I want to achieve today is create a formula. Okay, that formula is basically dealing with calculating time differences between in different rows but in the same column. Okay, not between two columns but in the same row, in different rows but in the same column. Okay, so today the report that I have today, it's a report that is called the manual summary. What it basically happens to calculate is it calculates the time mechanics have been working throughout the day, time they've been working on assigned tasks. Okay, so in this case we can see that on this date, on the 29th of June, okay, we have a scenario here of a task that were done. Okay, so if we come up here on top of our report, okay, let me just drag this up a bit so that you can see the full thing. Okay, so what you can see here, okay, let me just start over from here. Okay, so what we have is a list of mechanics. Okay, so those mechanics, there's a list of them, etc. Alex, Fons, Benson, Brighton, etc. Okay, so all these mechanics, they get assigned tasks every day when they come to work, and they are told, okay, you are supposed to do this and this and this today, and that is assigned via a certain application that my client uses. Okay, so that application will record times. Okay, when a client comes in and he starts a task, it records the time. For example, on the 15th of June here, we can see that this guy was assigned a task called the wheel alignment was only, and he had to start it on that same date at 25 past 2. Okay, and he finished it at 16 past 3. Okay, so what we want to calculate now, what my client wants is to see that time, the time difference between the time the mechanic starts and the time he stops, or the time the mechanic starts and the time he pauses, like in this case. Okay, like in this case also here we can actually see it in full. Okay, so this guy, he started at this time and he paused it, maybe in this case he was going for lunch or whatever break that he was going to, then he continued at 23 past 4 and he finished at 16 minutes to 6. Okay, now so what we want to achieve now is to find that those time differences. Okay, so my first form, so what we need to do is as you can see, if we hover around this field, we can see that this field is written command left time etc, but it's a string. Okay, the time is being recorded but it's being put in a string. So the first thing that we need to achieve is to change this string and put it into datetime, okay, so that we can be able to calculate the difference between the different rows. Okay, so what we're going to call this, maybe time wait, okay, time, let me just call it time. Okay, so to change that field, what we need to do, we use a command which says datetime. Okay, so we put our brackets there, then we select the field. Okay, so and then we save it and close. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we have basically created another field here. So if I come over here and drag this field, you see that it will just show the same things, but it will be in time date format. Okay, let me just go and preview. Okay, as you can see, what we are having here, we can just come over here and change the format, but it will still show the same thing. Okay, it's just the same thing. As you can see, this one is just in 12-hour, this one is just in 24-hour. Okay, so you can see that we have just managed to change that to see the time. But well, since it's just since these fields are showing the same information, we might as well remove this field and it will remain with this one since they are just the same. So the next thing that we need to do now is to calculate the time differences. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create another formula which we call time difference. Okay, so what to do that calculation, so we use another command which is called date difference. Okay, it's just date diff, and so the next thing that we create a bracket, then we select n. So now in this case where I've selected n, I can select I can put s here. N, basically we are talking about minutes. I can put s, which is seconds. I can put h, which is hours, or in place of n, I can also put m, which can also work fine. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a comma here. Okay, so instead of so the next thing that we're going to come and we select our formula, that formula that we created, which we call time. Okay, because remember we are talking about date diff, so whatever we're going to do, it has to be in the date format or it has to be in date time format. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to next. So remember what I said is we are calculating the time differences in the same column but in different rows. So we are simply saying the first time, so this one is the first time. Okay, so in the next one we are going to call it next, and we put our bracket, we have our bracket there, then we select our time, then we close bracket. Okay, so basically what we are doing here, we are saying the first time that we are the mechanic is started, then the next time that he is either paused or stopped. Okay, so that's the formula. Sorry about that. So once that is done, we can come over here. We use that this error check, and we can check. Okay, and we can see that we don't have an error there, so we can close. Another way of doing it, in place of next, sometimes you may be asked to maybe in place of saying the next time that the mechanic starts or whatever it is, you may choose previous. So previous, what previous does, it looks at the previous information that was put in. Okay, so but today we are just looking at the next, so we're going to save and close. Okay, and once that is done, we're going to come over here. We're going to check our time difference and we drag it, we put it over here. So if we come to preview, okay, so our time is in minutes. Okay, so we're going to look at this. Let's come over here. So what we are seeing here is we are saying this guy, he started at 13:37 and then he paused at 14:37. So what the formula does, it goes and say, okay, this minus this, it will give us exactly 60 minutes, which is just an hour. Okay, and it will then continue and say, okay, the time that was paused, okay, 1437 minus this, it's going to give us 106. Okay. Now, my client is not concerned about the time between the mechanic, the time was, the mechanic was seated. As you can see that at this time, he paused at 1437, but he wasn't doing anything between 1437 and 1623. So, my client is not, we are not concerned about that time, but we are only concerned about the time that the mechanic worked. Okay. So, because this formula, as I've just explained, it's not really answering what the end product of the report must be. I'm going to remove it, okay, and I'm going to create another formula. Now, this formula is to be based on the formula that is already there. Just as you can see, let me check back that formula again and bring it over here. Okay, there are statuses here. Okay, so what we have is the status. I didn't really explain to it. Okay, but these are the statuses. So we are only concerned about the time the mechanic had started the task and then he paused it. We are not concerned the time between the time he was seated, paused, and then he started later on. No, we are not concerned about that. So what we're going to do is going to remove, like I said before, remove this, create a new formula which is going to address what the client really wants. Okay, so we're going to just call it another formula which is going to time difference 2 or 1 or whatever it is name. Okay, so we are only concerned about the time the mechanic had started, then he paused. Okay, so the field that we're going to target is the time that the mechanic had started. So now we are going to have a status. Okay, so what we have here is we have different statuses, but we're going to select the one that says started. Okay, I will explain why later on. Okay, so this is the status that we are more concerned about. If command status got started, then time difference, else 0. Okay, so we can come over here, check for errors, and we see that we don't have errors, and we save this. Now we're going to come over here on our design tab, then we drag our time difference, the new formula. So the new formula is being designed based on the on the previous formula that I made. Okay, so as you can see, today we have touched on 3 formulas: the time, changing a string to datetime format, then the difference between time in same column but different rows. Okay, so now we are going to refine this formula. This last formula that I've just made is a refinement of the report to make it that, to make sure that it addresses the client's needs. Okay, we have come over here now. As you can see, it's quite interesting. We're working on this data, I guess, on the 1337, 1437. Okay, so as you can see, we can now see that this guy started it on this date. He started at 1337, this task. Then he stopped it. He paused it at 1437, so we can see that this 60 minutes. Now, like I said before, we are we are not concerned about the time that the mechanic was seated. What we just want to see at the end of the day is what time exactly was the mechanic working. The time he was seated, that's the time that we either going to penalize him for that, or we're going to do whatever we're going to do about that. Okay, so as you can see, we can now see that when he was paused and then he started, that time is 0. Okay, we do not count it. We are not concerned about it. Then the time he also started, and he started again the task at 1623. Then he finished it at 1744. Okay, so in that time difference is 81, and as you can see, so what we can then say is that at the end of the day, this guy is worked 141 minutes. As you can see, skills to plus 81. But in my next session, I'm going to touch on how to calculate to calculate the totals per day, and in all the formulas. We're going to calculate totals per day, totals per month, totals per mechanic. We're going to touch on that. But today, this is my this is the concept that I wanted to show you, and I really thank you for giving me time. Thank you very much. Okay.